Well, happy 2022, everybody, and it's been a minute, but the Duerrisms podcast, sponsored by Advanced Physical Therapy, is finally back. And we've gone through some things, you and I, over the course of the back end of 2021, but we're healing. Him physically, me technologically, and we're kind of back able to do this. This is Matt Schuckman from Muddy River Sports, an organization that is hiring Hall of Famers like George Steinbrenner these days. This man, foremost among them, the editor. Great to have you back, Matt.
Oh.
I know you were fighting the knee. You didn't get to do what you traditionally do during the holiday season and travel.
No traveling.
We were fighting technology, and I hadn't left for 3 months beyond a 20-minute radius of Quincy. It's been weird, but again, we're healing. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
We're back to normal now, aren't we?
2022 is going to be a wonderful year. 2021 is behind us. We're ready to roll.
Marching forward, and because we have reached that traditional point in the calendar where the holiday tournament season is behind us, we kind of know what we're dealing with basketball-wise. First of all, let's start with the Illinois side of things because that was the focus of what we did over the holiday season. Anything surprise you from the holiday tournament slate? Did anybody step up? We'll start boys' side. Anybody step up or step backwards that you didn't see coming over that period?
I don't think so. I think the one team that maybe said, hey, don't forget about us was the Brown County boys.
Yes.
I thought they played really well in Macomb. I think Illini West, we kind of knew what they were, and they kind of showed they're a solid team. But I think the fact that Brown County went 3-1 at Macomb really showed that, okay, don't count them out. Obviously, Liberty played really well. You know, you look at Liberty's 2 losses. They were to 2 Class 2A schools, one of which is on the cusp of being a top 10 team in Macomb.
Right.
We know Liberty's good. We knew that going in.
Do we know if they're ever going to get healthy at the same time? Because we have not seen Devin Clouser and Logan Robbins together much yet.
And if they ever do get healthy, watch out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're continually battling injuries. And if they're not healthy, they're susceptible in the postseason. If they're healthy, they can make a run.
Is there a positive side of that? Because you've seen a Clayton Obert step up. You've seen Mr. Tenhouse step up. I mean, you've seen some different guys, and nobody maybe has stepped up as much as Cannon Wolf basketball-wise.
Right.
There's a lot of good that might have come from them finding their identity.
Well, I think that's important to understand is when you look at teams, when you have somebody get hurt or you have a player who you rely on that has to sit out for a while. I look at Southeastern in that sense. In a comparable way. With no Danny Stevens, somebody else has to score. Somebody else has to rebound. Somebody else has to do things that he normally would do. You're not going to match his production, but you have to do some of the things he's doing. Ramsey Fry has taken on a bigger load in that sense. So in Liberty's case, the same thing's happening. Other people are having to fill those gaps when guys are out injured, and it's just going to make you a better team, a more rounded team as you move forward.
I didn't want to gloss over your Brown County pick, but Tate Fullerton had 12 rebounds in one of those games.
And we know how good a quarterback he was.
Yeah.
If they'd been healthy on the football field, who knows what they might have been able to do outside of it, and if they had some more depth. But I didn't realize how good a basketball player he was until the holiday tournament.
Well, nobody can stay in front of him, and that's kind of the problem.
Right.
And they've found other pieces as well. You know, I talk about this. You know, we've talked about Liberty. We've talked about Illini West kind of being incomplete with, Max Richardson dealing with some injuries and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
We really haven't seen, other than maybe Quincy High, anybody's sort of A game together yet. And even with Quincy High, you've got a lot of freshmen involved, really good freshmen.
Right.
But they're still searching for an identity.
They're still freshmen.
Yeah.
They're still freshmen. We haven't seen, especially from Bradley Longcore III, we've seen him really consistent. I mean, double digits the last 12 games. We haven't seen a freshman moment from him, like where a meltdown or something that you go, you have to remind yourself sometimes, he's 14.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Thomas is 14. You know,
and Keyshawn is such a difference maker for them because you have to go back to Elvin Palmer, I think, before you've had a guy with that kind of body who could do some of the things he does in the block.
Well, his footwork is the thing I look at is for a freshman to have the kind of footwork he does and the ability to, Reno Pinkston always described that second bounce.
Right.
Where the ball comes off the rim and you either tip it up and go get it or that ball hits the rim a second time and you got that second bounce to go get it. He's got that.
He also plays kids on his hip like a young Mark Aguirre, which you can't teach that.
No.
And those are good hips for a kid who's, as you touched on, 14 years old.
Mark Aguirre played in Blue Devil Gym, by the way.
I did not realize that. You talk about one of the legends of Illinois basketball. Okay, so we talked about Quincy High a little bit. I was kind of encouraged by Quincy Notre Dame because this is the team that kind of I've looked at and said, Kevin Meyer has a lot of good pieces. It's just they're pieces and they're not a cohesive recipe yet.
Right.
If they ever get there, that's a dangerous team.
I think so too. And you got to remember, they played the final 2 games of that tournament shorthanded.
They did, yes.
Jackson Stratton battling the ankle injury and Braden Sheffield out ill. So in the final game, they didn't have either. So the fact that they had some success at a little bit of shorthandedness tells you, okay, they may have found their identity. That's the thing I think they were searching for throughout late November and December was, what's our identity? What kind of team do we want to be? How do we play together? They found it.
I don't think the Greenview tournament was particularly strong.
No.
But I do think Payson Seymour is a team that did find traction coming off the holidays and kind of found, hey, we've got 5 guys that can play together that play really well together. I don't know that anybody got more off the holidays than maybe they did with the momentum burst they did.
Well, 6 wins in a row over a, 2.5 week span.
Right.
I mean, it was a nice run to carry into the new year. And I think when you look at them, I like the pieces they have. I've only seen them in person once, but you look at a Riker triplet and the things he can do. Aiden Perry, I thought,
who made a star turn over Greenview.
I was very impressed with him when I saw them. They're a team that could cause people some fits. I think in Class 1A around here, you're going to have a real battle in the postseason. You got a Brown County, you've got a Liberty, you've got a Southeastern, you've got a Payson. Is Liberty the best right now? Yeah, I think so. Will they be the best at the end of the year of that group? I don't know.
Well, and you've also still got, just outside your area, just on the cusp of mine, Triopia and Rout, who both played very well as well. So there are a lot of really good Class 1A teams.
Yes, there are.
Let's talk about the girls' side, because I don't think anybody, girls-wise, boys-wise, or anybody, had a better holiday season than Illini West.
No question.
And they backed it up last night while we're doing this podcast with another win over a really good Unity team. Is Katie Kirkham maybe the only player who could make a run at Abby Schreck for Player of the Year?
I think so. And it was interesting. I had a conversation about not comparing the two, but just talking about how each one's game is a little different with Grant Supernant, the Illini West coach. And I think the difference there is size, for one, and position. Katie Kirkham's a true point guard. Abby Schreck's more of a swingman type of player. But Katie Kirkham, wow, almost a triple-double in the championship game. And then last night, as we talk about this on Wednesday night when they won, down the stretch, she made every play. She didn't
does
score.
That, though.
Last 4 field goals were by other players, but she had assists on 3 of them. She had a steal, and then she made the 2 free throws to seal it. She's just solid. Across the board, she controls the game.
Well, and I think she benefited earlier in her career from being, at the time, the lesser of the big 3 with Artman and with Harrell at that time.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, when it became her time, she was forced to get out of the I'm just going to facilitate mode. And man, has it broadened her game tremendously. Yes. And let's not forget, as good as she is, she has help there, and particularly with the Reed sisters, who are unbelievably physical and talented and gifted. That Illini West team is going to be a beast for everyone.
Well, then throw Josie Bryan in there.
Right.
I mean, they just have really good athletes around her. And you're right. The physical aspect, I think, is what kind of sets them apart, because they can bang with some people. Shameless plug.
Sure.
There will be a story on Katie Kirkham appearing at Muddy River Sports next week. Great bloodlines there.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a little tease for next week.
Well, I like when you do that. You give the good folks reason to come on over.
She was a great interview.
Yeah.
I think it's a really an interesting story on her progression.
And such a deferential young lady who just doesn't want to be the center of attention but loves the game.
I asked her who was better, herself or her mom.
Yes.
And her answer was, people tell me I was. She didn't say she was. So
that's neat.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Q&D, the girls, because we brought that up. And as we record this tonight, big game in Springfield.
Correct.
Still undefeated at this point.
Haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah, we have not.
Because they don't play in a holiday tournament.
Which I think Eric Warren has always said he likes having that break.
Yes.
And that's by design.
Yes.
As much as everybody on the planet would love to get that group. And it's not just the Abby Schreck show. Obviously, you get a chance to see Blair F. Dink and Sage Stratton, who's been amazing as a freshman for that group. It's just a really good, fun group. What's it going to take to knock Q&D off?
Defense.
Okay.
You're going to have to take away. Abby Schreck's going to be Abby Schreck. Yeah. She's going to get points every night out. You're not going to eliminate her. but you have to eliminate the other ones.
Okay.
If you can take away the Blair F. Tank's three-point shot, if you can limit their ability to press and turn into transition points, if you have good backcourt that can handle their press, you're going to make them play a half-court game, and that they're not as efficient right now in a half-court game, but they pressure the ball so well, and when they get out and run, they've got so many options to score. It's not just Abby Schreck, and again, Sage Stratton just continues to get better.
She does. And one of the things that I like, and I had this conversation with Brad Tomhave last night, talking about our travels, is that the high level of girls basketball in our area is super high this year.
Yes.
Brown County might be my favorite team to watch of all the girls' teams because the Flynn sisters are like having two Kawhi Leonards. They're multi-positional wings who can bring the ball up, they can hit shots, and there are two of them, and it's just like, they're ridiculous. And then that's not to take away from Unity, who's been incredibly good as well. I mean, we're seeing some really good girls basketball on this side of the river.
Well, look at Brown County's last game. 5 players in double figures.
Yeah.
They shared the ball great. It's not just the Flynn sisters having to get it done. They have great balance at times. Now, when they need to, the Flynn sisters can take over. But a Gabby McGath, a Casey McKeon, they have a lot of different options there if need be.
They certainly do. And Gracie Hedden changes things for them.
And you brought up Unity. Ashlyn Arnsman, tough in the post. Kira Carruthers, great length. Was able to create so many mismatches because of her athleticism and her length. And then you've got Brooklyn Stiefel and Sophie Schaefer, who can shoot the ball, can get to the basket. And we've seen now 2 times in the last week against Illini West, just barn burners of a game.
Right. And Taylor Nichols to be the caretaker
not
for
to
everything.
Forget
absolutely. They've got a lot of really good pieces. All right, we've talked a lot about Illinois. Let's talk about the Missouri side a little bit. And it's been sort of a strange get back for Missouri because I don't know that we have seen yet the best from Monroe City. And they played an incredibly tough schedule to this point. And they've been tested, and Blair Oaks is ranked 2nd in the state, I think last I saw. What is your confidence level, absent a Logan Bulig, that this Monroe City team can be as good as it was last year?
Not as confident.
Okay.
I haven't seen enough that they're as consistent. Now, granted, part of that's the schedule they play.
Right.
They do have a Joshua Talton. Josiah Talton's played really well lately.
Especially the last couple of weeks.
Jaden Robertson has shown he can give them a big boost. Waylon DeGrave. Wow. They have athletes. I don't know if they have that it factor.
Okay.
I haven't seen that it factor from them that says they're going to get to state.
Who's the next?
I may be missing it.
Okay.
But
who's the next best Missouri team? Is it Highland?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
It really seems to be that way. Again, talk about a team that has a variety of weapons. Every time you look at it, they have a different leading scorer.
They do.
Drew Mallett was
26 last night.
26. So, and you look at Cameron Bringer does really nice things. And they're an interesting group because you go back to their football, you go back to their track. They just have a wealth of athletes right now.
Louisiana, a team that has been, I guess, on the cusp of if you can ever get that one big win. Right. And they may have the chance at Clopton with a shot at Monroe, which I know they want. Mason Washington is a 6'2", multi-positional wing with a 32 on his ACT. Is that the most underrated kid in Northeast Missouri right now?
I think so. Yeah. If you haven't seen him play, if you don't know a little bit about him, you're just going to go, it's Louisiana.
Right.
Okay. Then you watch Mason Washington and the things he can do. His athleticism is through the roof at times, and he understands the game. You brought up the 32 on the ACT. He's a smart kid.
He super is.
Yeah.
Girls-wise in Missouri, anybody caught your eye yet? I keep waiting for young Palmyra to put it all together because they've got 4 really great young players, but again, sophomore and freshman.
Well, similar to Quincy High, so many young kids, but I really like what they can do. I've had opportunities to see them a couple times. They're a really talented group. They just need to mature. That doesn't mean they can't go do something special this year, but they just need a little bit of seasoning. So watch out. Watch out down the road this year, then watch out in the next couple of years because that's a great group.
For me, it goes a little further out because I do have South Shelby, and I have Macon, and I have Scotland County, who's still undefeated at this point.
Yes.
This Highland tournament this week on the girls' side, those top 4 teams, and Canton gave Scotland County all it could handle because Nariah Clay can just flat play, and Macy Fisher came up huge in that game. I mean, it's kind of interesting at the top end of Northeast Missouri, just like it is in Illinois.
Well, who's gonna separate themselves?
Right.
Is there a team that comes out of the Highland tournament saying we're the best team in Northeast Missouri, or are we going to be sitting here next week and the week after going, it's a dogfight, And you look at Scotland County, Hannah Feeney. She's a difference maker.
At the point guard position, the most important spot on the floor. And they've got a big in Elena Whitaker who nobody can guard.
And I think Hannah Feeney might be one of the best defensive guards in the area.
Yeah, you're exactly right and very astute on that point. And that's not even talking about what South Shelby's doing over at Salisbury this week with Miranda Patterson going nuts.
Yeah.
Her brother was a KHQA Player of the Year.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of
decent
talent.
bloodlines there.
Yes, very good bloodlines there indeed. You and I never got a chance to put a postmortem on football just because of the way things shook down.
Yep.
Just your general impressions, Matt. What stood out to you at the end? I know that Hannibal game was disappointing offensively.
Yeah.
The better team won, though.
Yeah. Face it.
Yeah.
The better team won that day. No question about it. If they play 10 times, who knows?
Sure.
But that day, for sure, the better team won. Great run by Hannibal. I think what we saw there was a great team made a great run with a bright future as well. Yes, they're going to lose a lot. That's a great senior class leaving there. But they still have a bright future. And I think around the area, you look at it and go, there's still a lot of talent in this area. Monroe City is going to lose a ton, but they also have some young kids. They're the best football player outside of Aeneas Williams in the area in Pennywell.
Yeah, and maybe number 3, the way Waylon DeGrave is going at this point, because there's a sophomore who's a first-team all-state wide receiver.
Impressive.
Question is who gets him the ball next year. I think that's going to be the most interesting thing about Monroe City. But I think, again, we had kind of a rough year in Illinois. It was not the year that we were used to. I think, again, we could skew very strongly Northeast Missouri with some very good teams still in play next year, And from our standpoint, obviously, your good friend Mark St. Clair with what he's got at Bowling Green, Bruin with Joe Chin, they're probably going to be number 1, but I don't think Hannibal's that far behind, even with what they lost.
No, I don't think so either, and I think Monroe City will show you that they're going to be there. I don't know if they'll be as good early on especially, but they've got talent. I think Palmyra will rebound.
Yes.
If
we can silence some of the drama behind the scenes, which would be a huge help.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you one that I think is going to be incredibly interesting next year in Northeast Missouri that nobody talked about because they were not good this year.
I'm going to guess it.
Go ahead.
South Shelby.
South Shelby is going to be phenomenal, but I'll give you a different one because obviously if you have Trey Countryman, you have a chance to be special.
Exactly.
Clark County never got a break last year with COVID. They didn't start their starting quarterback. They didn't start their projected starting running back. I can't see an Ethan Allen team sliding twice.
No.
In back-to-back years. I just think Clark County is that team that, hey, when we go, who came out of nowhere next year? When you and I sit down and talk, I think they're a team that has a chance.
Well,
to do
they
that.
have the culture.
They do
to rebound. And again, like you said, you don't expect an Ethan Allen team to stay in the doldrums very long. But I think the football culture of Clark County will tell you, be prepared. Be prepared for them to be much better next year.
All right, let's talk some college basketball because it's been fun. I mean, it's been legitimately fun at every turn that we've gone this year. And I'd be remiss, obviously, if I didn't go, hey, Western Illinois, really good men's, women's. But QU has been much more entertaining than I think on both sides of the ledger.
No question.
Than people thought. I'll start with the women because I think Casey Bailey has done a very good job considering the circumstances at this point.
No doubt about it.
They are a much more watchable team.
You used a great word there because I still have people bring up to me my tweets from last year when I called it unbearable and unwatchable.
I used that word on purpose because I saw those tweets.
But they're not. They especially the fact that they're shorthanded right now.
Right.
They played the other night with 9 girls.
No, Beth Modest Martin, who is probably my favorite of those girls to watch.
She'll be back this week.
Okay.
She's out of COVID protocols and everything. But they had an early season loss when Lainey Lance decided not to play anymore.
Right.
And just concentrated on other aspects of her life. They've had some other, Amanda Porth has been out injured basically all year. Gabby Burns has been out injured basically all year. She's back now. They're still waiting on Porth. But for all those circumstances, they've put it together and they fight. They play hard. They move
the ball.
Exactly. It's much more entertaining. And I think that goes that goes back to a point. We don't have to get into this right now, but over the holidays, there was a lot of talk about shot clock at the high school level.
Right.
College coaches have chimed in, high school coach. The bottom line in all of this is entertainment. We can all sit there and go, this is about teaching kids and growing and all the lessons learned from athletics, but you're charging admission. You're making money off this as an athletic department, as a school. People are paying to come watch the game. They want to be entertained. You don't pay to go to a movie if it's boring. So 33-30 is boring.
Here's my beef on that. And I don't want to bring up the shot clock debate.
No, I don't want to go too deep.
But Neil Alexander will find a way to be successful anyway.
Yeah.
With a shot clock or not.
He's a great coach.
This was not me picking on Neil Alexander. He's as good a coach as there is in the state.
but it comes back to the entertainment. Part of it's and I get all these things going on. We'll get away from this, but it's entertainment. Quincy University women are more entertaining this year under Casey Bailey than they were the last few years under Jenny Garber. The men are as very entertaining as well because they move the ball. They have athletes. They've got options.
And they've done it without Charles Collier largely to this point. And I can't quite put my finger on what it is I like about them, but watching them play, I like, and it might be something as simple as a Solomon Gustafson roll-off. It's just like they're smarter as a team this year.
Well, they've got guards that know how to win. When you bring in a kid like a Mark Bradshaw Jr., who was part of a junior college national championship team, they understand how to win. And they understand how hard they have to play. I think that's one of the big keys. When guys move on to the college level, I don't know if they always understand, men and women, how hard you have to play to have success at these levels. You really have to work hard in practice, you have to work hard in the offseason, and you have to play hard. This team plays hard. They get after it on the defensive end. Yeah, they make mistakes. They do. And that's why they lost to Truman the other night on a heartbreaking.
Someday they're going to get over the top on Truman, but they also have bench energy, Matt, which is something I don't think we saw last year. And you have a point guard that comes off the bench that changes everything for you. I mean, they're dynamic.
Well, they are, and one of my favorite players to watch on that group comes off the bench right now, and Paul Zelinskis.
Right.
He just does so many things so well. And they're getting such great production. You brought up Solomon Gustafson. Anybody who saw him at Rock Island went, okay, he's coming to Quincy. You had to see the big picture when he was recruited from Rock Island. You saw the size. You saw the footwork. You saw the athleticism, and you went, with some maturity, he's going to be pretty good for them.
He seems to be making that move.
He is.
And again, smart play. And that goes along. And you touched on it. You don't bring in a Nate Shockey without, getting smarter.
Yeah, and no question. And again, the energy they play with makes them fun to watch.
Culver got 46 from Jalen Blaze last night. They've been all over the place in conference, though.
Yeah.
Have you figured them out yet?
No.
Okay.
No. They open the season with 10 straight wins. Then they lose every conference game up until last night. And they've been close. They've been blown out in conference play. It's like, okay, which team's going to show up tonight? Which group of guys is going to make a play? They've got guys who can score it. Can they defend? That's really the key for them right now is, can they stop somebody?
Give me your feel for John Wood. I think because this team has gone a lot of different directions in a lot of different ways. And sometimes it feels like they go as Jarvis Jennings goes, maybe too much sometimes, maybe too little other times. I haven't seen the best of John Wood yet, have we?
No, I don't think we have. I think the reason we have not, and Brad Hoyt may disagree with me, is I think they were too comfortable. Yeah, they've won some games and played well, but when you've got guys that are in their program for a third year, it's different at the junior college level. It's almost like those guys came back and everybody felt, oh, okay, they're back. We're going to win. They're comfortable. Well, you can't be comfortable and win at the junior college level. You have to have an edge. You have to have a sense of urgency because your time is short. And the whole COVID thing has thrown so much of that off that this team has to find its sense of urgency. Now, Brandon Cracked, I think, has been really good for them, will continue to be really good, but they've got to find that sense of urgency to where they go out and take care of business night in and night out.
I'm going to let you do a little business in a second. One last question, though, for you. January is upon us. This is traditionally much like moving day in golf. This is when we start finding out what's what. Give me the one storyline that most interests you, basketball-wise, going into January.
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Is there something that you're kind of got your finger on going, okay, and it doesn't have to be all that complex? Is there something that has kind of captivated you where you thought, okay, I'll know they're for real when?
Yeah, Friday night.
That'll be interesting.
Quincy High School goes to Rock Island.
Yeah.
2 4-0 teams in the Western Big Six Conference battling for first place. Those freshmen are stepping in to the Rock Garden on Friday night in a huge game. How are they going to respond? We've seen so much maturity from them as far as on the court and how they've handled themselves. Can this team, I mean, they're sitting 11-3. No one thought Quincy High School would be 11-3 at this point. Is this going to continue? Or is it going to be like, oh, they're so young, they're going to go in a tough bind? I don't think so. I think we're going to see them continue to progress, but Friday night's going to tell us a lot.
It almost sounds like you're hinting at the rookie wall, like, the Western Big Six equivalent of the NBA.
Well, you keep waiting. I mean, my goodness, they're 14 years old.
Right.
They're playing. I mean, you've got 3 freshmen playing significant minutes at Quincy High School. There aren't very many freshmen in the history of that program that have even played on the varsity level. Buddy of mine who turned 50 this week, Todd Wemhaner, hardly played as a freshman. He went on to play at Illinois State. Kyle Cartmill, the same way. Bruce Douglas played as a freshman, but didn't score a lot as a freshman. I mean, Jeremiah Talton has the freshman scoring record. It's going to be gone here shortly by Bradley Longcore. Going to pass him by. But you have so many young kids, and not just freshmen. You have a sophomore in Ralph Wires playing a lot of minutes. You just wait for them to have oh, this is too big for me moment. And it hasn't happened yet. And it may not happen. I hope it doesn't for their sake. But you kind of expect it to come. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm waiting to see how they handle that.
Fair enough. Muddy River Sports. You've got the top 50 of all time for small schools going on
Yes.
now. What else can we expect in the next couple of weeks? Because I know you do some of your favorite work in January.
Well, we're gonna have some interesting stories coming up on the Quincy Shootout.
Okay.
That's coming. I'm in the process of working on a story on maybe, I don't want to say the first family of basketball in Titletown, but we're gonna shed some light on a very significant basketball family on the I was gonna say from the Missouri side, but it's both sides of the river now.
Yes. You may be hearing from Kerry DeGrave, though, if you call them the first family. The Chin family might want to have something to say about that at some point.
Well, there's a whole lot of families over there you could point to.
That's right.
So I think that would be kind of fun.
But you touched on that. Just wonderful people, the Toltons.
Yes, no question, and I can't wait to engage them and do a story on the family and the basketball legacy they've created.
I can't wait for you to ask Ed and Jermaine who was the better basketball player. That is.
I will ask it.
You are fearless, my friend.
You know I'll ask it because I'm going to get some fun answer from them about it. And then we're going to continue unfortunately we haven't been able to do Shuck on a Truck.
Right. I saw you've done some of it virtually.
But we've been doing those virtually. The next one will be with Jirel Brock.
Okay, phenomenal.
Yep. And then we're going to do some leading up to the Quincy Shootout, some fun ones there. So.
And we've also, while we're on the subject of it, I know one of your better Shuck on a Truck features with Mr. Rupsich.
Yes.
We're closing in on NFL draft time.
I know. I can't wait to see what happens with him. Because I think he's going to get drafted.
I think so too, and I think that's going to be a great story to follow.
So what's coming up with you?
Me?
Anything exciting?
You know what? I've got the Winchester tournament this weekend, which is my favorite of all tournaments, especially that first Saturday.
Yeah.
Camp Point Central got the girls tournament going on.
The Lady Panther Classic coming up.
I'm running like mad, and then we've got Superfan Shootout right around the corner, which finally dawned on me that, hey, we're doing this for real this year.
We have to gear ourselves back up for. We didn't go through any of this last year.
No, we didn't, and it turned out good for all the stuff that went. I mean, Liberty Monroe City, Fort Madison still undefeated, hopefully coming into that, and Cairo, who I saw the other night against Monroe. I mean, there's some great teams in that.
I'll be spending all day there with you.
Well, we like to have you there.
Right.
Why don't you come back and spend some more time with us in the coming weeks so we can do this more regularly?
Yeah, definitely.
I think people miss this.
Well,
I missed it.
The fact that we didn't get to do it for a while because of all the issues we both went through.
Oh, jeez.
Whether it was health, whether it was technology, whether it was just
I'm tired of
the stupidity of 2021.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah, no finer words were said. Again, Matt Shuckman, editor of Muddy River Sports. Check it out daily All kinds of great content there. It goes just beyond the highlights and the storylines. Matt does a great job illustrating everything, and he's added Dodd Krim to the Rota. Man,
That's
you
so
talk
fun.
about a 5-hitter behind your cleanup spot there. That's good stuff.
Well, he had his introductory column this week. Every Monday you're going to be able to read Don Krim. Next week, a fun one. A blast from the past and a current. It hits both ends because it's a guy who coached and a guy who is now officiating in Doug Elledge.
Oh, phenomenal. That'll be fun as well.
Yes.
Again, Matt Schuckman, our thanks to our good friends at Advanced Physical Therapy. Again, thanks for sticking with us through these ugly months.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're back. We're regular.
Yes.
We're going to be here with you every week. We appreciate you, and we love you. Thanks, guys. We'll see you right back here next Thursday.